Good day, podcast community. PeteKane here, Podcast Pete, and certified high performance coach. And I got a special guest on our show because if you can be cool and you can wrap a business around being cool, man, you have arrived. So, Leonard, for the people who don't know you, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into our podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Pete, for having me. Everybody, I hope you all enjoy this show. Thank you all for having me. My name is Leonard Abbott, and I'm the founder of One Change at a Time. It's a nonprofit organization that focuses on teaching the youth how to care for seniors. And then I am also the founder and the operator of It's Cool to Care, which is an in-home care agency that serve seniors in their home. And we like to say at It's Cool to Care, we provide the coolest care to seniors in their homes.
Uh,
Um, so, and yeah, in our population, as just mentioned, we serve seniors through our in-home service programs through It's Cool to Care. And we conduct intergenerational programming with youth and seniors coming together in the nonprofit form. So,
it's beautiful. Every time I hear it, it's music to my ears. But I want to go in a little deeper. Like I know that our ability to connect generations is powerful in a lot of senses. How did you come up with that idea of really putting intentionality to what you do in business, to your nonprofit, to really serving our younger generation to connect with our older generation?
it's a great question. It came about an experience with our organization being asked to come into a skilled nursing facility to volunteer. They needed a little bit more assistance with their volunteering programs at the time. This was up in New Rochelle, New York. We
Mhm.
came in and we conducted the program. And honestly speaking, we thought it would just be one program that we'll be conducting and kind of go on to our normal initiatives throughout the year. And when we got there, we realized that there was a huge need in those older adults who lack um, physical, a consistent physical support because they do have short-term physical therapy and skilled nursing facilities, but it's only for a short-term period of time. So
Mhm.
those individuals there on a long-term basis are not getting that continuation of physical programming unless it's done through the activities, department. And also, there's a huge need in terms of support and programming for cognitive disorders, individuals with Alzheimer's and dementia. So we noticed that. But I think the most important thing that we noticed out of everything was the social health and social well-being that needed to be improved with individuals that were inside of the facility because we noticed that there was an extreme isolation amongst a large majority of those individuals because a lot of times when you go around, and I've been working in the healthcare industry in geriatrics and with seniors for over 15 years now, and you see a lot of isolation and loneliness, loss of spouses, children staying far distance away, and with them already having some, physical or cognitive health disorders, it already kind of brings you down a little bit as a human being naturally. I was an athlete, and if you sprain your knee or ankle, and you got to be out for a couple plays or out for a game or something. It just brings your spirits down. So you can only imagine being older now and being limited with your physical and cognitive abilities, and then not only limited in that way, but not having that social support, not having your family around, your loved ones around as much as you would like. And so we noticed a huge need to improve the social wellness, the anxiety and depression that a lot of those seniors we were interacting with was having, and they were sharing this with us. Some directly, some not as directly, but you can see it. And so we decided to develop the program. It's called Bridging Generations.
Mhm.
And our concept was we had youth volunteers already. We knew that a lot of young people and youth were struggling with bullying and struggling with identity and not really understanding what their purpose is, and then also too struggling with connecting with older adults because sometimes some people who are not experienced being around older adults can kind of be shy and kind of scared. They like they look at them sometimes like they're aliens, and like it's like no, one day you will be here, and so you want to kind of teach them how to pave the way. So we
Yes.
developed a program, and it took off, and we just expanded it into another facility, and we've been going strong for over 10 years making that impact.
Ooh, I just came from my Rotary, and there's a program that they're launching, and it's around loneliness. And, it's an epidemic. And so we all need connection. I spoke at Del Mar Gardens in Smyrna last Friday night, and it was about maybe 20 seniors. It was the most precious time to really talk about the connections, talk about aliveness, talk about meaningful purpose, personal growth. And this lady is it just melted my heart in just love. She comes up after me. She's 93, and she said, I couldn't get my hearing aids in, so I didn't hear everything you said. And but she was there, and she saw the excitement of just people coming together, socializing. And it just, we lose a lot of our, different things like hearing. My mom was 95 when she passed. So hearing was a big thing. Sometimes there wasn't any communication, but we need it. We need connection. We need meaningful connection. What do you see like in the younger people as we're, like you said, at first they're looking, they're going like, oh my gosh, how do I talk to an older person? Until they kind of get into that environment. What tell our viewers, like when you see people at the beginning and they're just getting used to the program, what kind of transformation do the kids come up with because they're now connecting with our older generation?
Wow. So in the beginning, when we started the program, we already had some youth volunteers that were part of our organization, and they were used to doing activities, but most of them were not used to interacting with the seniors. And so the first thing we did was we did a little bit of research as a leadership team on intergenerational programming, and we gathered some tools and resources, some training material. We looked at some research studies and different things just to look if there was other models that went on around the world
Mhm.
in regards to intergenerational. Then we took those tools and developed a training curriculum, and we started to train our youth volunteers. And then once they started to get comfortable, the transformation really started to happen when they started to understand that these older adults deal with the same emotional um, you know, psyche as a young person does. A young person gets lonely, gets depressed sometimes. The older person does. A young person can be happy and excited, and an older person can be happy and excited. And the feeling that they got from serving, I think that brought a level of morality to the young people, and the
Mhm.
testimonials that we gathered from young people who volunteer for the program, whether they are volunteers who've been with us for years or whether they only volunteer one time with their family for an event or a community organization. The testimonies that we got was the understanding and the understanding of how relatable a young person can be with an older person, and then the feel good that they got after doing the program and event, knowing that they were making an impact, showed us that the program would be able to transform young people in their mind state and when and how they interact with older adults and the improvement that their interactions can have on themselves and that senior.
Yeah, that's I had do you know Chet Beasley?
Chet, I've heard of that name before.
Yeah, he teaches seniors that technology divide. So we need that connection to the new technology because if we don't, we're isolated. And
Hmm.
it's just simple as things as like Gmail and ordering from Instacart and just different things of how to communicate with WhatsApp for their kids that may be overseas or something like that.
Mhm.
But what was interesting is, he's talking to his seniors. They want to learn, they want to connect, but when we invite the grandkids over, we don't want to spend the whole time teaching the basic stuff, but of technology. So he has an app coming out that helps our seniors get the basics down so they can connect with the younger generation, not on all the basics. Because I had a friend that said, yeah, every time I go over to see mom, I'm fixing her TV, I'm doing her program, her passwords, I'm doing all this technology stuff. When if I could get that out of the way, I'm connecting more with my mom. And I think connection is the basic premise, connecting young people with our older, and both benefit immensely as I see it. So what's the challenge you face now? I mean, you're well into the development of one, it's cool to care, which I think is absolutely the coolest thing because it just sends a signal in my mind like it's cool to care for people, especially our seniors who have given so much. They're in a precious time. So what are you faced with now that's challenging that our community might be able to help you with?
Um, I think so. When we to start with this cool to care, we are, we're a home care company, and we're a for-profit home care company, but we also too are a Medicaid provider here in Georgia. So we have
Mhm,
we're able to assist those older adults who may be on the lower income spectrum, and we were able to help and assist them with getting approved for Medicaid, and being
mhm,
able to get service and support from the state, which I think has helped us a lot. But starting there, I think economically right now, it's been a little challenge for all of us, I believe, but primarily for our older adults who are on fixed incomes, and with the inflation and the rise of cost, in our country, it's been tough on a lot of older adults to afford
mhm,
services. So families are coming together, community organizations are coming together to pool resources to help them out, and hopefully that improves in that realm. And then also too, any company with a mission, you're always looking at different ways to improve your branding and marketing and just getting the word out, to
mhm,
people. And I think just continue on the journey of building a company and connecting with other organizations and providers out there who may provide either a similar service or a different service, but we're all dealing with the same demographic, and we can refer and support each other in that realm. I think is beneficial for It's Cool to Care. In regards to one change at a time, I tap into what you mentioned before, the connection piece, because prior to COVID, I mean, we would have a program that would average anywhere between 15 to 25 participants. Some events would be a little larger than that. When COVID happened, it stalled the program for a while. We had to reignite it, and we've been building it back up, where up to the point where we can, we're seeing now a little around an average of 12 to 15 participants, and some events could be a little lower than that, just due to the loss of momentum of COVID, and dealing with the older population who are more prone to diseases and things of that nature, bringing some hesitancy when it comes to large groups with some individuals. And so that connection piece has been something that we have seen as an obstacle, and now we are seeing ourselves kind of overcome it again as people start to get comfortable. I know it seems like COVID was years ago, but people don't understand. If you work in that healthcare industry, it's not just COVID. It's flu season now, so you have COVIDs, you have flus, and you have so many other disorders that our older population gets exposed to. And so being able to just maintain and overcome those hurdles in that realm so we can get back to the actual physical human
Mhm.
connection. I think technology is great. It allows us to do a lot of different things with our program because we have a virtual buddies program where we have students who may not be able to, physically come to a program. They can actually get a buddy and virtually communicate and be a support to that older adult. So
Mhm.
technology does help, but I do believe that, now, COVID thing is over as we continue to build up, and not just for us, but for the community at large, to kind of get back to not leaning on the technology so much to interact with each other, but to come more closer together in the human connection.
Mm. I love that. We're both from an area a little bit north of us, and I wanted to go back to your college days. I'm always I'm always, I don't know what the right word for it, but it has to do with the discipline that athletics provides. I just had a young lady. She played 4 years of volleyball at KSU, and my roommate at Virginia Tech was a diver in college, and then another person that went to our high school was a diver at Maryland. But here's what I was able to do. I looked, I go to my 50th high school reunion, and both of them absolutely had stellar careers. I mean, really stellar. And when you think about athletics and the discipline it teaches us, what that does for later in life. What did your athletic career, how did that help you in your journey, your career right now?
Um, priority, priorities. Being an athlete, you had to prioritize, especially the further you get up. You start out in a little league, and you work your way up through high school, and then you get into college, and the older you get and the further away from home you get, there are more distractions, right? And as an athlete, if you're really trying to hone in on your craft, you have to prioritize your craft over other things that could be distractions. And then
Mhm.
obviously being a student athlete, so you have your studies that you have to focus on, and then you have to, be prepared for practice and be prepared for working out and staying disciplined in the off season as well too. So prioritizing is something that I learned a lot from being an athlete, and prioritizing the important things first, and then the discipline aspect of it, just being disciplined in your craft, always looking at ways to work on your craft, work on yourself, and better yourself. I mean, just being a athlete, we would have to study film, and sometimes you're getting called out by coach. Sometimes you're calling yourself out because you see an error that you made. Sometimes you're getting high fives and praise because of a big play you made, but watching that film allows you to dissect your performance and to say, okay, let me write this down. I need to work on this. I need to work on that. So that brought a discipline aspect to it. And then just the work ethic. You got to work hard. You have to work hard. I believe in that. I don't just preach that, I live that. Some people may say I work too hard, I work too much, but I love what I do. So, and I know the cliche is, if you're doing what you love to do, it's not work. Work is still work because you're still putting time in, but it's not a burden like you feel you're pressured or you're forced to do something you don't like doing. You
Mhm.
enjoy it. And so I believe that that's what I've learned from the athletic side of things: prioritizing, discipline, and working hard.
Ooh, I love that. That's such um, incredible insights into, a journey. And part of that journey too, like she was sharing a career ending, her like, I think it was her senior, halfway through her senior year, she gets a torn ACL and she can't recover in time. So she's basically sitting as her team is, going on. And so she had to shift to a more of a leadership role because COVID took out some of the juniors. So she was the senior in there and she's out. She can't play. She wants to be playing. Did you find yourself like in a situation like that where injury took you off the field and you had to pivot and do some things that you grew because of it that you could share with our community?
Oh yeah, number one, I played football, which is a rather physical sport. My
Mhm.
entire life, well, half of my entire life now. From like the age of 5 years old all the way up to 21 or something when I finished up my football athletics in college, and I'll tell you that working. I was fortunate not to really have any injuries throughout all that, and I always played tackle football, even from little league. But there
Mhm.
was one time in college where I had to sit out for a week, and I was a starter on our defense, and I had a partially tore MCL, a little sprain there, and I had to sit out for a week, and it was, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, just being an athlete having to sit out, oh, it's so depressing, right? And what I had to do was, hone in on being a support to our our players and starters that were out there, but it actually made me more of a peer supporter to the younger guys.
Mm.
And I was already, so-called like, leader of my on the team, and someone that a lot of athletes and younger guys looked up to. But it, when you're not in the action anymore, you can sit back and kind of evaluate things from a different perspective. It allows you to see things you're not able to normally see. And
Mhm.
one of the things that I noticed and saw was, some of our young guys who had talent, but maybe didn't have someone in their ear to tell them, man, you can do it. When you're coming in as a young person and you're trying to, you know, get on a team or start or become a starter or get known or recognized by the coach is hard, because coaches are hard on the young guys, and it's tough. And sometimes you're coming in from, being a popular athlete in your local area at your high school. Now you're coming to college around other athletes who are popular and pretty good at, at their schools, and now you're trying to compete. And if you're not really getting that opportunity right away, I even went through it when I was a young athlete. But if you're not getting that opportunity right away, it can be a little hard on you. So
Mhm.
when I was injured for that week and got an opportunity to kind of sit back, it gave me a chance to just be more of a peer coach to some of those younger people, younger athletes, and galvanize them, and those that you see that spark or that potential in, to encourage them to keep going, don't get down, get better. And it actually, worked out, because those skills are skills that I utilize to this day, and that's just helping to provide a purpose for people, helping to push people, challenge people, along with challenging myself, and motivate them to do better.
Ooh, that's so good. Before we started, we talked about you had to shift rooms and the concrete. They're doing some construction, and we're talking about pivoting in business.
Yes.
So COVID affected all of us, and we all had to pivot, do things different. Do you have anything that you grew and you had to pivot through that you could share with our community about that? That was certainly something nobody expected. How did you manage through it, and what did you learn and grow through that process?
Um, a great example would be when our organization was uh, in a situation where we were seeking funding. And it's hard in the nonprofit world. It's just as competitive as anything. I tell anybody, it's just as competitive as anything. And we were in a situation where we needed the funding and support for the program, and I went through a lot of roadblocks. I mean, and I still have them pinned in my email. The denial letters from corporations and foundations is so depressing. It's like, because I tell the team, I say, writing a grant is like, it's like studying for a test, knowing that you passed the test, because most grantors will have a guideline that specifics what they want to see in the actual grant, right? And so
Yeah,
you write all this up, you spend these days and weeks writing this up, gathering this data and material. You're like checking this off. I got this, I got that, I got that. And you spend all that time and you send it in. It's like you studied, you know you got an A, and you get it back and you failed because you didn't get any fun. It's the
yeah,
most thing in the world. And
yeah.
so to overcome and just to what I learned from that that perseverance, that discipline, that hard work piece, kind of what I pulled away from my experience as an athlete, as a ball player, and how and we there was another opportunity that came for a grant that I was just like kind of like I don't think we'll get it, and we went for it and we got it. And so it taught me a valuable lesson that if you stay in the game, your chances of getting a win, your chances of succeeding, your chances of overcoming um, are much greater, or much higher, and eventually you will win versus giving up.
Mhm.
And it can be challenging. It can be tough, man. It can be an emotional toll on anyone. It's, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're like yourself, you're a coach and you're out there trying to help people and get people on board and you want to get the most out of people and sometimes people don't react to it as the way that you expect. And it can be like, man, I'm putting all this time and effort into this, and it just keeps seeming like I'm hitting a brick wall. I'm hitting a brick wall, and what I learned from that is just you keep on hitting that brick wall. You keep hitting that brick wall. That brick wall is going to start chipping away a little bit, falling back a little bit, tilting a little bit, and you'll see yourself going through.
Yeah, there's wisdom in that, just what you shared. If you never quit, you have a chance. And that is so good. What energy I feel like as an entrepreneur, we're challenged in every regard because it just tests everything we have. How do you maintain your energy throughout the day? Is there some things you do that have worked, or do you have a routine, a way that you keep your energy as high as possible that you could share with us?
Yeah, obviously I'm very conscious about, what I eat and how I eat. Fasting is a big part of that. So I at least go a minimum anywhere between 12 to 15 hours between meals. That's for me on a daily basis. I know some people may have a different dietary need, but for me, fasting helps with that. Exercising, of course, I do a lot of cardio and I love lifting weights and stuff. So I keep myself fit. But I think what really gives me energy outside of that is priorities. Goes back to
Mhm.
what I said as an athlete. Like me, this is on my laptop right now. Like you see that? That's me. So writing things down, planning out my week, planning out my day. When you know you have things to get done, you get up excited. Like for me, I get up sometimes excited. Not sometimes, a lot of times. Some days I'm like, man, I want to sleep in for a little bit more. And so, you might sneak a little hour, here or there, to get some rest because rest is important. Although I put in a lot of hours throughout the week, but the most important thing that keeps me energized is knowing that I have something to look forward to. And
Mhm.
that's just planning out my week, planning out my days,
Mhm.
looking forward to knocking tasks out. I look forward to knocking tasks out. I look forward to challenges. That's me. I look forward to it. And that's what keeps me energized, just kind of being healthy, having a balanced diet, fasting and, working out, but, really prioritizing my days and weeks.
I love that. I once a month I go over to Kennesaw Mountain High School and I speak to on habitudes with sophomores. And what I see, you see patterns in podcasting, you see patterns in coaching, you see patterns in everything. And the average American watches 4 hours of TV and scrolls up to 2 hours of social. So that's 6 hours. And when you look at that, you're consuming other people's lives. Now, we're born to create our life. So spending time creating gives us that life. I mean, because so much of the, and I don't do social media, I don't do TV, I gave up, I don't drink, I gave up a lot of things. And once I gave up these things, like you said about priorities, I realized that it it benefited me more than I even thought. And I used to be in social media 10 years ago, so I know the game. I know and understand it, but I don't participate in it because it just zaps my energy. What do you do creatively that fills you up? Like what could you share with our, like, I know you're not a TV watcher or like a scrolling TikTok videos because
No,
that's that
I
is,
don't.
I can tell, like, there, but what I'm getting at is I want to encourage communities to create. You know, even as a senior, keep creating. Whatever you're doing, learn, create, bond, have connections. What do you do that fills you up? Like, what creative thing that really excites Leonard?
I'm glad you said that. You hit it on the nail. I think creativity is the most important thing to a human being.
Mhm,
Whether you're a cook and
mhm,
you're creative in the kitchen,
mhm,
whether you're an architect, you're creative
mhm,
what you build, a mechanic, you're creative in what you're working on, a digital designer, you're creative in your art. Like creativity is for me, writing. I like to write. I like to write music. I like to write movie scripts and comic scripts and different things of that nature. So I have an entertainment company outside of all of this where I do all of my creative artwork through. I'm starting a new podcast. So just, getting my voice out and just being able to share my thoughts on different topics and stuff. But staying creative and letting those juices flow. I love to build things. Like I enjoy building things, like building companies and businesses. I enjoy imagining or an idea in my head and being able to bring it to life. And everything that has that you see now in regards to my business endeavors all started within, and I was only able to get it out by being creative and
mhm,
allowing that creative flow. And I think you hit it on the nail. I think every human being, like you said, no matter your age, don't stop creating. I was
mhm.
talking with a friend, and I think once you get around, your I guess between that 35 to 50-year old range, so to speak, you start to see a shift and change in your peers and people that you're around, and for all different reasons, career reasons. Some people may have some health things, people have families, just a lot of different things takes us into different realms.
Mhm.
And but I was sharing that one of the things I noticed once you start to get in that age range, you start to witness either a heightened level of creativity that starts to come out of some people, or it gets minimized or null and void, so to speak. It
Yeah.
doesn't exist anymore because of life things. And for me, I would never want that to happen. I want to just always stay creating. It's an outlet for me, as you just mentioned. With all the work that we do, being creative for me is a health thing. I love to laugh at myself. I love to think crazy ideas. I love to write a lot of different stuff. I love music. So, I just like to do those type of activities to keep me going.
Ooh, that's so good. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, Leonard. So tell our viewers, like, how can they get connected and get a hold of you?
Yeah, so as you can see, those are the Instagrams. Have a couple of more, but those are the Instagrams you can reach out to me at. That's the website. Our website link to It's Cool to Care. There's a contact form and our phone number there. It comes right directly to me. You're able to reach me there as well too. But those are the ways you can reach me. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. So, as we last question, as we wind down, what would be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
Mm. I would say, for me, more than anything, find a spiritual purpose. Find a spiritual purpose. You know, there's a lot more to us as human beings than just what we see. You know, today we talked about, community stuff and, business and different things of that nature. But deeper than that, we're human beings, and I believe that for me personally, there's a spiritual thing that goes on within us, especially as good folks out here that's just trying to do the best we can, trying to grow and overcome obstacles, trying to get better, improve day to day. I think just finding a spiritual purpose, whatever that may be for an individual, I would want them to lead with that today, because I think that would kind of allow you to focus yourself on bettering your health, bettering your mental, bettering your social, bettering your creativity. I think once you kind of get in tune to who you are and having some form of spiritual connection, it will really be beneficial to your lifestyle.
Ooh, that is well, I have to leave with this. It is cool to have you on a podcast
Glad-
because
Thank you.
absolutely engaging, and I know our community loves it too because of just how you approach every day, how you approach life in general. It's cool. I love what you're doing. Big supporter of what you're doing, and just thank you for taking the time to come back and be with us on this podcast.
Thank you so much, Pete. Thank you for having me. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate this opportunity. Look forward to more.